Every sportscaster has his own card of greatest thrills at the microphone. Bob Chase is no exception.
Indeed they do. In just about all sports, I've had some great thrills in Big Ten football. I can't think of the date at the moment. I think it was about 5 years ago. And the bucket game at Purdue in Indiana was a definite underdog and defeated them 12-7 on Nate Ramsey's interception and a 97-yard run. That was a great thrill for me in football. In basketball, I started doing basketball in Indiana the year that Milan beat Muncie Central, and that to me had to be one of the most sensational things I have ever seen in high school basketball. In hockey, of course, I have had a number of thrills, mostly probably in playoffs because of some great comebacks the Fort Wayne hockey clubs have had, as well as some great teams that practically waltzed through seasons. I know one night it turned out not to be as big a thrill as I'd anticipated. I started a game at 8 o'clock at night, and it went into a record series of overtimes, and I was still doing play-by-play at 25 after 1 the next morning. But I think probably within recent years, as I recall it, although we lost the series to the Dayton Gems, the final game played here in Fort Wayne, and the dramatic last-second goal by Len Thornton will stick in my mind for a long time.
With 11 seconds, turned out in front of the goal, Durant, ridden off the puck by Berman, played by Goodwin, a shot wide again, Thornton back out front, diving on it and hanging on. With 3 seconds to go is Rick Best. 2-1 Gems, and it all happened in the first period. All right, Durant and Wazlowski ready for the face-off. Every Comet now standing. 3 seconds remaining. The crowd is quiet. And Wazlowski will face off against Sid Durant. Thornton out in the shooting hole. Waz now looks. They're ready to draw. Waz gets it. Thornton shoots. Score!
You've been listening to Face Off, the International Hockey League. This week's chapter on this side of the boards. Next week, we'll talk to the players, coach, and officials of the 1969 Turner Cup champions, either the Dayton Gems or the Muskegon Mohawks. Mike Emrick saying so long until next Saturday night at 9. The CCHA Championship is at stake. Without narration, the highlights of the championship game.
Bowling Green putting the pressure on, following the faceoff shot, and score, Bruce Woodhouse.
Number 20, Bruce Woodhouse. Assist by number 17, John Stewart, and number 12, Rich Mengai. Time of the goal, 3:12. Ohio State penalty on number 21, Gord Peters. 2 minutes, flashing. Time of the penalty, 5:33.
The draw on the Bowling Green zone is taken by the Falcons. McCosh has it. Here comes Gordon McCosh coming out to center ice. Dumps it into the Ohio State zone. Chasing it in there is Fedor. Puts one right through the crease. Dobek tips it wide. Bartley comes up with it. Gets it out to Dobek once again. Taken away from him. And Witherspoon tries to throw it out. Kept in by Giles. He takes his shot. Goes all the way through to the crease. There's a shot and a goal! 3 shots taken by Bowling Green. The third one finally got past goalie Dan Sergio. Sergio committed himself, went down to the ice, blocked 2 shots, but the third one was lifted up and over him. And Sergio got no help in clearing that crease out in front of him from Israel or Witherspoon. Goal scored by number 11, Pete Fedor.
Assist by number 15, Bob Dobek, and number 4, Chuck Giles. Time of the goal, 7:17.
Ohio State back on the attack now as they come down into the Bowling Green zone. There's a shot right out in front, and Muscolci's on top of it. And that one was bouncing around in front of the net down there. And Terry Muscolci grabbed it and held on.
Terry's parents, wife, and nephews are about 2 rows behind the Ohio State bench watching this one this afternoon.
12:27 left to play here in the first period. It's 2-0. Bowling Green leading the Buckeyes of Ohio State. Final game of the season for Bowling Green and Ohio State. The draw in the Bowling Green zone, won by Stewart. He brings it out to center ice, right wing for Woodhouse. Woodhouse in over the line, back to Stewart, takes the shot, blocked by Witherspoon. Stewart up with the rebound. Stewart hits it out to Woodhouse, scores! It's Woodhouse! Bowling Green pouring it on here in the first period. It's 3-0. And Dan Sturgio does not look like the Dan Sturgio we saw earlier this year, Mike.
He certainly doesn't, Terry, and he doesn't look like the man we saw play at Ohio State 3 or 4 weeks ago either.
Green goal scored by number 20, Bruce Woodhouse. Assist by number 17, John Stewart, and number 12, Rich Nagai. Time of the goal, 7:48.
Center ice, but Stewart takes it away there. And 2 Ohio State players run into each other. Stewart over to Woodhouse. Woodhouse right front. Scores! Oh, brother! Woodhouse has the hat trick. I didn't believe you when you told me that. That's right, he does. He has the hat trick in the first period. Bruce Woodhouse, the fellow who hasn't done a great deal of scoring thus far this season. He has only 4 goals coming into tonight's contest, and he has 3 already. This afternoon's contest, he has 3 already. Bruce Woodhouse with a hat trick, 3rd goal, making it 4-0 Bowling Green. And we're having a change in goal for Ohio State. Bob Park is coming out now. Park to replace Sergio. And he won't get any warm-up time, I don't think.
Attention, please. The Bowling Green goal was scored by number 20, Bruce Woodhouse, a hat-trick goal, his 2nd of the season. Assist by number 12, Rich Nagai, and number 17, John Stewart. Time of the goal, 13:35.
The Buckeyes down ice with a 2-man advantage over Bowling Green for the next 8 seconds at least. Out to the right point, Peters. Left side it goes. There's a shot blocked by Giles. Another shot right out in front of the net. Leach blocks that one. It comes out to the blue line. Gets out. Breakaway. Bowling Green. Stewart. Down ice. Stewart. In alone. Shoots. Score! Give an assist on that one? All right, to Al Leach. That last one, the Stewart, that they announced the 5th goal as being unassisted. We do give an assist to Al Leach on that one. So those are 2 changes in the scoring. Make the 2nd Bowling Green goal Dobek from Bartley and Giles rather than Bedour. And the 5th one give an assist to Al Leach. Our score, 5-0.
Down there, tries to pass back to Woodhouse, but it's taken away by Gord Peters. Peters at center ice, getting it to Dave Hoyle, back to Peters into the Bowling Green zone, drifting off on the left side, a shot by Wilson, a score! Terry Muscolci had a glove on it. It ricocheted off the glove into the near left corner of the Bowling Green net, and Ohio State is on the scoreboard. 5-1 now, the Falcons lead. out on the point to McCosh. McCosh drifting around the blue line. Right point to Giles. In the slot to Nagy. Loose puck in front. They can't shoot it in. Shot by Stewart. And a goal! And we've got a little action behind the net. Witherspoon has a man. Johnny Stewart is holding Witherspoon out of the play. Watson got tied up with Steve Panskew there, and they're going to be penalties handed out to the latter two. But Gordon McCosh is acting the role of the peacemaker down there and is holding Bob Watson away from further action.
Scored by number 17, John Stewart. Assist by number 4, Chuck Giles, and number 10, Bob Watson. Time of the goal, 5:20.
They lead 6-1. Bador at the OSU line. A pass was broken up by Dave Hoyles, but it's loose in front of the net. Coming out with it now, Pete Bador near the blue line. Bador with a drive. Score! Waldo Bador, 7-1 Falcons.
Bowling Green goal scored by number 11, Pete Bador, unassisted. Time of the goal, 7:23.
Shift on that last goal is going to go to Pete Bador from Bob Dobek. The official ruling on the 7th Falcon goal. South retreats to the near corner, met with a heavy check by Bartkowitz, gets the puck to Roger Archer behind the Bowling Green net. Coming up the left-hand side now, Woodhouse shaken up a bit by that check. Bowling Green getting into the Ohio State zone, but a loose puck is taken on the play by George Abick, and a penalty call coming up here to Ohio State. That was one we didn't see, Terry, and a misconduct. And that goes to Hugh Prentice, and that has to be poetic justice if ever there was some.
The heart will fonder.
On number 9, Ray Myers. 2 minutes, hooking. Ohio State penalty on number 12, Hugh Prentice. 10 minutes, misconduct. Time of the penalty, 3:52.
And Goodsburg shoots it down the ice for Ohio State. And we have George Abick going off the ice. Let's see what he's going to get. A misconduct to George Abick.
On number 5, George Abick. 10 minutes, misconduct. Time of the penalty, 4:07.
That it won't be long before it's right time.
George Abick has been thrown out of the game, I think. I think he's gone. George Abick has been thrown out of the game. He was in the OSU penalty box for a misconduct. And the organist is playing Auld Lang Syne for George as he leaves the ice.
It's happened every time before. And as sure as the sun comes up tomorrow, prime time will start.
Game misconduct and disqualification.
Oh, it's crime time again. You're gonna leave me. I can see that faraway look in your eyes. I can tell by the way you hold me, darling, right now, that it won't be long before it's prime time. That it won't be long before it's prime time.
Is there any reason why women like this game?
I think so. I think the average lady likes to see some man get cuffed around, banged around.
This man's name is Lefty McFadden. You'll hear more from him and business contemporaries of his during the next 30 minutes. Hello, everyone. This is Mike Emrick. This, as you can judge by the music, is a program about sports, or rather, about a sport. It could be about football, baseball, or basketball, but it's not. It's about a foreign sport that came to America just a few decades ago. Unlike many sports currently in vogue, the player uses two unnatural extensions of his body as equipment. A stick, which is an unnatural extension of the arm, and skates, which are two unnatural extensions of the feet. By now, you've guessed. The sport I'm referring to is ice hockey. More specifically, hockey is played in the International Hockey League. This program will be in 5 parts. Part 1 begins tonight with an introduction to the teams in the International League and a special feature on the brass, the front office men who make the decisions which govern the play. Stay tuned for period number 1 in Face Off, the International Hockey League. In all 7 cities in the International Hockey League, the game starts the same way. The game starts with the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner, and on occasion the national anthem of Canada, since most of the players in the league are from Canada. This sets the stage for the beginning of the action. 7 clubs compete for the league championship. The league began 24 years ago with but 4 teams and has expanded to include 7 and an 8th to come in next season. The fans are rabid. The cities where it all happens are Des Moines, Iowa, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Muskegon, and Port Huron in Michigan, Toledo, Columbus, and Dayton, Ohio. Although management structures differ, the end is the same. Provide winning hockey for the fans and thus make money and continue hockey club operation. The fans like all sorts of excitement, and fans are pretty much the same at any of the different 7 league sites. They like such things as penalties. The fans also like goals, such as the exciting one-on-one score.
Just short of the blue line, it's dumped in. In goes Manis. Manis goes in. It's one-on-one. A shot. Score!
The cities where it all happens, Des Moines, Fort Wayne, Muskegon, Port Huron, Toledo, Columbus, and Dayton. We're going to travel around the league, take a quick tour, and visit some of hockey's front office men. First stop, Hara Arena, Dayton, Ohio. The general manager of the Dayton Gems Hockey Club, currently in first place in the International League, is an enthusiastic sportsman named Lefty McFadden. McFadden was formerly a top-flight minor league baseball player, as well as a manager of 2 speedways handling world-renowned USAC drivers. He had seen but 5 hockey games prior to 1964, but it was in that year that the Dayton Gems organization was born.
We started in 1964. It was a real strange thing, Mike. Some gentlemen from Louisville, Kentucky were to put the team in Dayton, Ohio in the International Hockey League, and at the last minute they decided not to come in, and I was invited to put the team in Dayton, and went out and sold 44 shares of stock at $1,000 a share, and this is exactly how we started.
If there is one city in the league that is high on entertainment besides hockey at a hockey game, it is Dayton. The reason? Ask Mr. McFadden.
Well, I'm convinced that you need a little Barnum and Bailey in any kind of a sports promotion. And the first year we had a hockey team, we started with pom-pom girls. We started with pom-pom girls because I had a daughter who at that time was a student at Beaver Creek High School, and she and some of her friends decided we needed pom-pom girls, so we had pom-pom girls. We came up with high school bands because they make a lot of noise and they create a lot of they help people get up a lot of enthusiasm, I think, and I think this is very important. The first year we had a public address announcer. His name was Bill Hilbert, better known in the Dayton area as the Govey. The Govey did things on the PA system for me that I wouldn't have asked any professional announcer to do. He made announcements of all kinds, and after Dayton would score a goal, the Govey would say what kind of hockey was that, and the fans got around to saying, oh, that's beautiful hockey. Well, this thing now is all over the International Hockey League. Almost all announcers now, especially when they're playing Dayton, and when they beat Dayton at their home ice, the announcer will just automatically get around to saying what kind of hockey was that, and the fans tell them.
Hockey was never seen by many residents of the Dayton area.
No, actually, it was a big job, a big job, because for the most part, people in Dayton had never seen hockey. I, for instance, had seen 5 games in my life prior to the time we started the team. But we were out selling a foreign sport, and we like to believe that we've done a pretty fair job selling it.
It has been rumored that Dayton is drawing so well in attendance that they might move up to the American Hockey League, where competition and gate receipts are higher. McFadden, always ready with a concise answer, says of the rumor.
Well, actually, we're not going to go anyplace except the International Hockey League. It's nice to talk about a league of a higher classification, but it would be a little ridiculous, I think, to move into another league that we wouldn't be sure of. We know we're making money now, so why move?
On to Columbus and the Fairgrounds Coliseum, home of the Columbus Checkers, and to talk with General Manager Jerry Schmelzer. Here, a rather unusual mode of operation is involved in the Czechs' front office, the family plan.
Yes, it is. My 2 brothers, Larry and Ray, and I own controlling interest in the team. An interesting story about that and how we got into hockey was about 4 years ago when we negotiated to buy the Boston Celtics. We were beat out of that prospective purchase by a beer company in the East. But one thing we found in our negotiations and our investigation of basketball was that in Boston, where the Boston Celtics had won 9 out of the last 10 seasons in the NBA, their average attendance was 7,700, whereas the Bruins at that time had come in last 3 out of the last 4 years, and they were drawing 13,000. So we felt there must be something to this game of hockey. And, you know, as businessmen as well as sportsmen, you have to look at the attendance figures before you go into something. And that was one reason why we thought we'd bring hockey here to Columbus, which has been known for a good town for contact sports.
Currently, the Czechs are 6th in the league after a rather turbulent season during which fiery but popular player coach Mo Bartoli was suspended by the Schmelzers. In a later show, we'll talk to the new coach, a defenseman, Jack Turner, about the club both before and after the incident. At L.C. Walker Sports Arena in Muskegon, Michigan, a unique managerial arrangement exists, the husband and wife team. Jerry DeLeese is the Muskegon Mohawks general manager and chief spokesman. Wife Wynn is president of the club and handles practically all of the office and public relations activity. The Mohawks, league and playoff champions last year, are currently in 3rd place, hotly pursued by Port Huron and Fort Wayne. Skipper DeLeese, winner of the Hockey News Minor League Executive of the Year Award for 1968, tells of hockey's beginning in that port city.
The story of Muskegon starts, in 1959, I guess. I was recuperating from a heart attack and received a call from Moose Lalo, who had been with me at that time for some 9 years, and in various jobs, hockey jobs. And he was calling me, he said, from Muskegon. And I said, Moose, knowing that Moose lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I said, Moose, what are you doing in Wisconsin? And he said, Jerry, Muskegon is not in Wisconsin, it's in Michigan. So I tell you this because in spite of the fact that Kenny Lane at the time was a top-ranking lightweight, and perhaps I should associate Muskegon with Kenny Lane, should have associated with it at the time. I did not. and he corrected me to tell me that Muskegon was in Michigan. Well, at this time, he also told me that he had been driving through Muskegon, and an arena building was being constructed and was close to completion, and would I be interested in taking a look at it for purposes of determining whether it would be conducive to hockey. And as a result of this, I traveled out here after my doctor argued that I shouldn't, and my wife assisted me in kind of circumventing his orders, and I came out and looked at the thing, and from it evolved the Muskegon Zephyrs at the time, which name we changed to the Mohawks some 4 seasons ago.
As in Dayton in 1964, hockey was new to most Muskegonites in 1955. It started a bit shakily.
Yes, Mike. In this sense, Muskegon, population-wise, is a small area by comparison to the other cities in the league, with the exception of Port Huron, which is, again, smaller than Muskegon. So that we are limited in our market area, that is to say, the amount of people upon whom we can call and expect to attend games. Therefore, we started slowly, attendance-wise, and had to show them a product that they were willing to buy and were happy to sit and watch after paying the price of admission. This was done on the basis of, as I said earlier, the product on the ice, the team, and some of the promotional activities which we have garnered over the years and threw out toward the public of this area.
The genial DeLeese is always giving much credit for the club's success to not only his fine coach Moose Lalo, but to the one whom he met in Washington, at a hockey game naturally, and married shortly thereafter.
I don't believe anyone in the world is as busy as my wife. In addition to having the duties of a wife, she is president of this organization, and as such she conducts knows and follows every detail that passes through this business. And of the two, she is by far the busier, the more effective, and certainly the prettier.
Like all general managers, DeLeese finds the search for talent a never-ending process.
This is a constant search, whether we're doing it by traveling or by phone. It's something that we're doing just constantly, including 2 o'clock a.m. Most mornings. It just never ceases.
In Fort Wayne, Ken Elliott has been skipper of the wealthy Komet ship for the majority of that club's 17 years of existence. The Fort Wayne Coliseum holds 3,000 more than the second largest arena in the league. With all seats filled, 8,025 fans can enjoy Komet hockey. The Komets have had more capacity crowds than they even care to count. The K's have fallen on hard times this season. Currently, they are 5th in the league, unusual for a club as successful in the past as that at Fort Wayne. In Port Huron, radio station executive John Wismer doubles as general manager of the hockey club, though the reins are basically in control of Coach Ted Garvin. Port Huron has been in existence 5 years in the most beautiful arena in the circuit, the McMorran Sports Arena. Although Port Huron won the championship 4 years ago, they have not been a noted power up until this season. They're a young club. Currently, they are waging war with another very young club, the Muskegon Mohawks, for 3rd place. In Des Moines, where hockey has been in business for 5 years, colorful coach Howie Milford is the team's coach. The Des Moines Ice Arena is unusual in that the majority of the seats are benches rather than the chair variety common in the other 6 cities. The spirit is high in the Leaf City, especially since the Leafs are challenging Columbus for the last playoff spot, which goes to the 6th place team. In Toledo, it's a big year for the Blades, who have been 1-2 and 2-1 with Dayton all season long practically. Much of the credit for the Blades' rebound from 5th to 1st and 5th to 2nd place, depending upon where they are with reference to Dayton, goes to their general manager and coach, Terry Slater. Slater comments on the change from last season's 5th place finish.
But it's like I read in the newspaper the other day where Lombardi said that going to Washington, that he wanted to have a winning football team, and it meant a lot of things, and injuries were one thing. Last year we ended up 5th in the league, 6 points out of second place, which is only 3 wins. But due to the fact that we lost our goaltender the last half of the season pretty near it, we lost 2 defensemen, and we played the last game with 9 players, and if we would have won the last game, we would have been in the playoffs. But our defense last year was weak. We had a weak defense, and then being besides the fact that our goaltender was out, we had to put in a sub-goaltender. Whereas this year, we had Ramsey, who's the #1 goaltender in the league, but he got hurt. But then I came in with Bill White, and there was another good goaltender. My defense is completely changed, only for Joe Kiss. I've got 4 new defensemen this year, and they're all big, and they've all played pro hockey, so they've got a lot of experience, and this is one of the main things now.
With the exception of Des Moines, all clubs in the league are affiliated with a National Hockey League team. Dayton is aligned with the Boston Bruins, Fort Wayne with the New York Rangers, Toledo with the Los Angeles Kings, Port Huron with nearby Detroit's team, and Muskegon with the Montreal Canadiens. We asked Jerry DeLeese of Muskegon what his team's alliance with Montreal involved.
Well, basically, the Montreal Canadiens provide us with some of their young people for development purposes who are not quite ready for the higher echelons in hockey leagues. And it is our task at our end to assist them and aid them in their attempts to develop to the point where they may next year move up and play in the higher echelons.
Turnover among players is quite common because of the big league tendency to snatch players showing promise. DeLeese comments on the turnover and gives this great credit for his showing of last year when they won virtually everything in sight.
But I feel strongly that at this level of play, which is minor league, as you appreciate, but a fine brand of minor league, the personnel changes so rapidly in that we are basically a development league, and our young people move on to higher leagues and greater situations for themselves personally, that the turnover in personnel allows for the kind of fluctuation that you noticed here in moving from 6th to 1st.
The manager has to not only worry about the business of the game, but keeping the team supplied with good players. Sometimes this is difficult. Howie Milford at Des Moines considers himself among the more fortunate.
Well, we've been very fortunate. Most clubs have trouble in getting goaltenders, but we've been very fortunate here in coming up with some outstanding goaltenders over the past year. I think that probably the hardest position that most clubs have to fill in recent years is that of defensemen.
Milford explains why the defensive position is getting harder to fill.
I've only lost 1 defenseman in 3 years in Des Moines to the bigger leagues, but I don't know. It seems that with today's type of game, a defenseman has to be a forward too. They have to be very aggressive, both in their own end, and they have to be very offensively inclined, whereas a few years ago, it was strictly defensive hockey that they concentrated on.
One problem that all general managers are concerned with is the seeming inability of their teams to win on the road, and this happens with every team in the league. To get the player's angle on the home ice advantage and the disadvantage of being on the road, we talked to Bob Tambari, goaltender for the Muskegon Mohawks.
Well, Mike, the one big reason I think that we have found so far is actually the home crowds. When you have people cheering for you, you're naturally going to go out there and I shouldn't say give it more than, but when you know, let's say everybody is on your side, this is giving you an extra lift, an extra boost, but also the fact that there's different ice surfaces as far as the type of ice you're used to skating on, the different ice dimensions of the rink. In other words, you're used to your home rink because you practice in it all the time. And, well, especially in our case, we have a terrible road record. I think we've only won 3, I think, on the road, and tied, I think, 3 or 2, whereas we're the opposite. At home, we've only lost 3 and tied 3 at home. So that we do find a lot of difference. And I think, especially the influence with us, with our team, Muskegon this year, has been that we have a very young team and not experienced players. So this makes a lot of difference so that the crowd does have a lot as far as swaying. It's not, that they're going to scare us. It's far from it. It's just a matter that when we feel that the crowd is all behind us, we sort of, you jump on the bandwagon and sort of this type of spirit, and I think it has a lot to do with it.
Port Huron Flags coach Ted Garvin has a different theory.
The bus rides, Mike, they're very tiring. For example, last week we just come off a 2,000-mile bus ride when we played in, we started off in Dayton, and then from there we went to Des Moines, and from Des Moines we came back into Columbus, and then from Columbus to Toledo. And 2,000 miles, you get bus weary, Mike, and you just can't be sharp when you hit the ice.
The Toledo Blades had one of the more successful road records in the league. At mid-season, they had played 500 hockey on the road. Other clubs were lucky to even gain a tie. Skipper Terry Slater explains why the club is stronger on the road, seemingly.
Well, I think it's a matter of recruiting players. It's some players are used to their home ice all the time, and when they go someplace else, they're not. They don't seem to give the all-out effort that you need, that 150% heart and everything else that you need to go along with it. And I think in my recruiting this year that I've got a lot of road hockey players. In other words, they play we play better, actually, although our record is good here, we play better hockey on the road than we do at home, because most of the ice surfaces are bigger than this in the sports arena. And I've got forwards that can skate, and they like to check, and they like to shoot that puck. So I think it's a matter of just getting the right personnel. People do like to play on the road.
The general managers are also responsible for voting each summer on current league issues. Of prime concern this past summer were the issues of playing sudden death overtimes during the regular season and the number of teams admitted to the playoffs. The moderator of such meetings is the league commissioner and a veteran hockey man, both as a player and coach, Andy Mulligan. He explained the feelings of the two opposing factions on the overtime situation.
Annual meeting. Our rules are decided at our annual meeting in the summertime. And at this time, it was discussed pro and con. The people against overtime point out that many times we play 3 games in 3 nights, a Friday, a Saturday, and Sunday. And teams have to travel. And we'll say a team jumps from Muskegon to Dayton for a Sunday afternoon game. And they already have played Friday, and they have played Saturday. And sometimes those games have gone into overtime. We've had 3 overtime games in 3 nights by some of our teams. Well, if Dayton fans, if they got the 3rd game on a Sunday afternoon, may not see the best hockey. The teams would be tired, possibly. They have to stay up later to play and play longer hockey, and maybe by the 3rd game in 3 nights, they are tired by that time. The other point is that maybe a home team battles from behind and gets a tie in the last period, and then it goes into overtime and they lose. Sometimes their fans are a little disgruntled. They've worked hard and they would have a point, but they lose it in overtime and sudden death. The National League got away from playoff hockey, overtimes hockey, during the Second World War, when they couldn't keep travel schedules. And as you know, some of our teams have to play in Des Moines, and they maybe play there Saturday and Sunday in one of our other cities and have a 550-mile or 600-mile jump. If they have overtime, it's just that much longer before they get started. They're just that much more tired for the game the next day. And we think that we give them 60 minutes of action, they've seen a contest.
Opinions were also varied concerning the expansion of the International League playoffs to include 6 teams rather than 4, the first such round-robin playoff plan in the league's history. Terry Slater's opinion can best be described as changed.
Well, at the time, right now, I'm in disagreement with the playoff system, but at the time that this was arranged, Cincinnati were to come into our league, and Flint, Michigan were to come into our league, and that made 9 teams in the league. So that's only eliminating 3 teams if we had 6 out of 9 in. And at the Board of Governors meeting, we voted on having 6 teams in. Now, this can be changed, but we have to wait a year to change it. And as it happened, with all the union strikes and everything that happened in Michigan, Flint couldn't fulfill their obligation to have the rink finished. Cincinnati backers couldn't get an agreement with the building for their rent, so both teams dropped out. That left us with 7 teams with 6 in the playoffs. Then came a formula of how to play 6 teams so we're not playing all summer, and they came in with a round-robin tournament. That's even hard for me to explain, but you have to play each team, the last 3 place teams, and then they pick the number of points and goals scored for. It is a little complicated, but it's still playoffs. And then we'll get down to the same system as we had last year, only it'll be a little shorter. Instead of playing 4 to 7, we'll play 3 out of 5.
Lefty McFadden minces no words.
We had gone with 4 teams in the playoffs until this year, and again I was outvoted. They decided they wanted 6 teams in the playoffs. To me, it's ridiculous to play a 22-week schedule and eliminate just one team. Thus just doesn't make sense. If we had a 4-team playoff this year, what a whale of a race we would have had. Because with Dayton and Toledo fighting for first place all year long, and with 3 or 4 other teams fighting for third place, it would have been a whale of a race. But the fact still remains I was voted down, and we're doing it their way.
On the other side of the fence is Howie Milford in Des Moines.
Well, I think this is good, Mike. It gives the players of 2 teams an opportunity to participate in the playoffs. It gives them a chance, therefore, to make more money. Also, it makes the last games of the schedule more meaningful for more teams. Consequently, this gets more fan appeal.
The man who must keep peace in the IHL family brass is Commissioner Andy Mulligan. The commissioner, at his office in the Toledo Sports Arena, the building he manages, cites his duties and the duties of the league's Board of Governors.
Well, I'm elected by the Board of Governors as commissioner and serve in that capacity. I'm also the treasurer of the league. That means I take care of the league funds. They pay a per game dues, and out of this money, the referees are paid, the linesmen are paid, the cost of our league meetings is paid, the cost of the yearbook we put out is paid out of these funds. I must appoint referees. This year I appointed the referee-in-chief, Fred Blackburn. He assigns the referees and the linesmen. But it's my duty to see that he does this. It's my duty to see that the officials that we bring in, as many good officials as we can to the league, that the league dues are paid, that the players are treated fairly, that the fans are treated fairly in our league cities, and supervise the meetings, of course. Now, the board is made up of 2 representatives of each of the franchise holders, and they are on the board. The board meet periodically to go over league business, to decide policies such as playoffs, overtime, which was voted out, and other matters pertaining to our league.
The commissioner commented on a new 8th team, which will come into the fold next year.
Flint have a new multi-million-dollar building that is completed now. It wasn't completed in time to start our season this year because there's some building strikes down there. Construction was held up. But they did make application, and the franchise was granted to Flint, and I'm positive that they will operate come next fall.
Mulligan is indeed a busy man, shouldering the responsibilities of his league commissionership and the management position of the Toledo Arena. Long hours are common, but they don't appear to bother him.
Well, Mike, it's good to be busy. It keeps you out of mischief, you know. And I just heard a heart specialist talk this week. He says hard work never caused heart attacks. And it was kind of reassuring to hear this because we don't look at the clock, you know, how many hours a day you put in. If you like something, Mike, you work at it. You give it the time and give it the effort. It's a pleasure as well as a job. And I'm very, very happy and proud of my association with hockey. I think it's the world's greatest game, a great spectator sport, and I'm very pleased to be able to give some time to the sport because it has been very good to me.
Next week, our attention is directed toward the men who play the game.
And when I was 17 years old, I was playing juvenile hockey back in Canada. I got hit by a stick as an accident over my right eye, and I cut the eye real bad. I had 56 stitches in it, and the eye popped out of my head. They just picked it back up and put it back in, sewed me up, and that was it.
That was Jim Sanko of the Toledo Blades. Hear his story and those of other IHL performers next Saturday evening at 9 on Face Off, the International Hockey League. Face Off, the International Hockey League, is a 5-part series dedicated to the men and women serving in the International Hockey League to make entertainment the greatest in hockey in the Midwest. Until next time, Mike Emrick hoping that all your shots hit the nets and that all your penalties are minor ones. One of the more colorful coaches and general managers in all of hockey didn't skate until his teenage years. Then in just 5 years, he had been drafted by a National Hockey League team. Eventually, he would come to Muskegon, Michigan as a player, remain as a coach, and eventually become general manager. The man, Morris Moose Lalo, subject of our intermission feature tonight.
I started pretty late in skating. I started up in Timmins, Ontario. I was born in Montreal, and I went to Toronto. From Toronto, I went to Timmins, and I was 13 years old when I put a first pair of skates on. And you know, I couldn't speak English or just French and Italian, and my education wasn't the greatest. So I said to myself, I got to make something out of my life. So from 13 years old till I was 18, took me 5 years, and Boston Bruins called me up to their farm system. And from Boston Bruins, I played for the Olympics for a couple of years, and then from there I went down to the coast and played for San Diego. Went back up north and coached when I was a youngster. I still went back up north, and I was in my 20s. I coached up in the senior hockey up there, then back down again, and I played for New Haven in the Eastern League. And when the Eastern League folded, Grand Rapids had a hockey team, and then they called me from Grand Rapids. It was 15, it was about 17 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. I go that far back, that Grand Rapids, that's when I first came to the International Hockey League.
But then Grand Rapids folded, and Moose kept moving.
When Grand Rapids dropped out, I went to Philadelphia and played with Brian McClay when we were together up there, Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. And then when I came back lived in Grand Rapids, when I came back here and found out 15 years ago, in 1960, that Muskegon was having a rink. And I came to Muskegon and showed my credentials and so forth and so on, and I got hold of Jerry DeLeese, and we got together and came to Muskegon, and that's how we started the Muskegon franchise.
So Lalo and DeLeese looked over the city and decided that this was a place where hockey could flourish because it had a colorful past.
Before that, they used to have a hockey team in here. They played in the old arena here, and they were doing pretty good. So we figured it out. As a matter of fact, I couldn't get any guys to come in with me to get the Muskegon franchise. I only had it 2 weeks first crack at it, and then so I was stuck. So I called Jerry up, and I told him that I had a good spot for him. He came down here, checked the town over, and he liked it, so he put up the money for the franchise.
With all of that coaching experience, Moose says he notices a change over 2 decades.
The coaching today, just even the players are a little different from years ago. I think to me that the players today are much faster, but I don't know if they're smarter. You know, I think that they don't have the drive that we used to have years ago. Years ago, as a matter of fact, as you know, the salaries wasn't as high as it is today. But I think that the players of years ago used to put more out than what the players are today. And today, they just when they feel like going, they'll go, and when they don't feel like going, they won't go. But in the years ago, when you looked at the NHL, you only had six clubs in there, and you said to yourself, holy mackerel, how the hell are you going to get in there, you know? And every one of those fellows in the NHL and years ago, they're all superstars, every one of them. And today, well, you know, you look at the NHL or the World Hockey, they're not all superstars. There's only a few of them, and the rest of them are just, you know, regular hockey players that years ago would never make it.
Port Huron fans have had a fondness for the visitor from the western part of the state over the years. He says this was especially recognizable on the night he played his last game in the IHL. It happened to be at McMorran Place.
One thing that Port Huron ever did for me is the last year that I have quit playing hockey. And my last game, as a matter of fact, that when I retired, was right in Port Huron. That was my last game, and it was a very enjoyable game, and everybody knew that it was my last game, and I didn't know. The fans even passed a hat around and collected some money for me that I'll never forget. And at the end of the game, I can't remember who the fellow was. It was from a booster club or whatever. He came up to me and handed me this hat full of money. And I says, my God, I said, you shouldn't have did that, you know. And the guy says, well, all the fans, all these years that you show them the enjoyment and so forth and so on, here's our appreciation, you know. So that was a wonderful thing that the Port Huron fans ever did for me. I'll never forget it.
His family in Muskegon is a big one.
I got a big family. I had a boy in Vietnam. He's married now, and I got 4 children at home. As a matter of fact, one of them, I have a couple of stepchildren and 2 of my own at home. And the other one just turned 18, and I got 2 girls and a boy. I got a boy about 11. He's playing hockey now himself. That's my youngest one. And we bought a home in Muskegon, and my wife and I have been married now for, 13 years, and I've married a Muskegon girl, and this is where I'm going to implant my roots.
So what for the future? A jump up the coaching ladder?
I was offered, years ago, a few coaching jobs in the American League and the higher league, and I turned them down because I know that, up there is just, I think it's a madhouse up there, and you got to come up with winners, or else, as you know, managers and coaches lose their job as fast as they get them hired, not only in hockey, but in baseball and all over. And so I said to myself, why should I go up there and get those headaches just for a few extra dollars more? I'm supposed to mind my own business, stay in my own backyard. And they always say, they think that on the other side of the fence that the grass is greener, but sometimes somebody forgot to put the water on it.
Philosopher, general manager, and coach of the Muskegon Mohawks, Morris Moose Lalo. This man's name is Jack Lose. He's an organist at the Allen County Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne, and just one of the men involved in hockey who doesn't wear skates. Chapter 4 of Face Off, the International Hockey League, on the other side of the boards. Hello, everyone. This is Mike Emrick. On tonight's edition of Face Off, the International Hockey League, we're going to talk to people who, though they don't get on the ice, or coach, or make front office deals, have a lot to do with the behind-the-scenes and other aspects of the game of hockey. Hockey is played in the International Hockey League. Chapter 4 of Face Off. Our first stop is in Toledo, Ohio, in the office of business manager of the Toledo Blades, Jerry Nergy. Jerry grew up in a rival IHL city, Fort Wayne, and has quite an extensive hockey career for one who is but 24 years old.
And I got started in the kid program there. When I got too old for that, I started a team as now in the Midwest Amateur Hockey League, known as the Pepsi Komets there. From there, I decided I needed an education, so I got a scholarship at Ohio University. Played 3 years at Ohio University, graduated, came to Toledo to get my master's, played with the University of Toledo last year while I was working on my master's, got the break to come to the Blades as business manager, and decided I had enough knocks and bruises, so I took the job, and I now have a master's from TU, and I'm very happy in hockey.
Nergy admits that his job is rather harried at times, but vast in scope.
Yes. Actually, I think being a business manager of a hockey team gives you exposure to any type of business activity you can possibly imagine. You have to sell tickets, you have to sell advertisement, you have to buy hockey sticks, you have to budget for a certain month. You're just exposed to every possible end of business you can get exposed to. And I, being a marketing and advertising major in college, both undergraduate and graduate, find that my schooling is helping me out quite a bit.
One of his jobs is handling ticket arrangements for all Blades games. We asked him for an estimate on the average weekend game of how many fans had season tickets, how many phoned for reservations, and how many comprised the walk-in trade.
Our season tickets, Mike, run between 900 and 1,000 each of the last 2 years. I would say the phone reservation for a weekend night would bring another 2,500 reservations. And then I would say that the walk-in crowd also, depending on a weekday night or weekend night, would vary from, say, 1,800 to maybe 2,400.
With a rush of 5,000 fans in 45 minutes, oftentimes the business manager finds himself at a window selling tickets also.
Well, many times on a weekend, I get in and man a window stall and sell the tickets also. But we have 4 lovely girls and 1 gentleman that are excellent ticket sales people, and they get the people in pretty quickly. I think we've started only 1 game late this year.
The position of publicity director is an exclusive one with but one club, the Dayton Gems of Lefty McFadden. Sonny Tate, a jolly, enthusiastic gentleman, fills that position. Sonny's career in public relations has not been limited to sports, as he explains.
Before I came to the Dayton Gems, which was 3 years ago, this is my 3rd season with them, I traveled with orchestras. My main forte was road manager with big-name orchestras. I was with Ray Anthony and Ralph Martiri and Tommy and Jimmy Dorsey when they were still living. But then I came to the Dayton Gems 3 years ago and started out in the summertime by selling the advertising that was in the program. And then as things progressed through the year, I went to training camp with them in St. Thomas, Ontario, because this was the first time that we did go out of the country to train. And we had to have someone up there to get the communications back here to Dayton to the newspapers that were here. So that's why I went along with Lefty up there to give him more time to study and watch the players and watch their progress so he could make his decisions and help Warren make their decisions as to who was going to be coming back with the Dayton Gems to play in that particular season.
Sonny's job ranges from supervising the taking of team and individual pictures to authorizing public address announcements.
Yes, it's one of the many facets. I also take care of the press box and see who is supposed to be up there and who isn't supposed to be up there. Ironically, we do have a nice press box, Mike. I think you can vouch for that. You've been up there. It's big enough, I think it's big enough to have a dance in. It will seat approximately 120 people up there. And I don't know, there's a lot of football and basketball press boxes that haven't been that large. That is one of my main concerns, is because we do get people that try to get up there to watch the game, you know, because it is a very good, advantageous spot to watch the game from. And I have to kind of keep those people out because they can't be bothering you people, the working press up there, because you're doing your job. We take care of that. We see that the newspapers and the radio and the television gets all of the different answers that they want, because when a guy scores a goal, well, there's 100 questions asked at one time as to whether that's his 50th goal, whether it's his 20th goal, or how many did he have last night. And there's all kinds of questions, and it takes research to go back and do that. So consequently, through that, I don't get to see too much of the game. I'm back downstairs here in the office sometimes running around researching all these different answers for these different newspaper and television people.
One of the constant occurrences at a game that Sonny handles are telephone messages to people who are attending the game.
People, I think, like to hear their names mentioned on public address. Either that or they want to hear it on the radio or they want to hear it on television. I don't know what it is. I guess it's vanity that people really like to hear their names mentioned. We have people call up and while the game is going on, and they say, would you page Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so? And we've had to limit it to just emergency calls only, because the people would call up, and we had an instance happen just the other night, 3 nights ago. A lady called up and she said, would you page so-and-so? And I says, well, if it's an emergency. And she says, well, it is sort of. And I says, well, may I ask, please? And she says, yes. She says, my husband is at the game, and she says, there's something of terrible value, of great value in the car, and I want to make sure he locked the car. I said, well, ma'am, if he's in the game now and he didn't lock that car, chances are it's either gone or it's still safe. It's not going to make any difference whether he goes back and locks the door or not. But people just, they all want to have their names mentioned, you know, so we have to limit that. We do announce all of the groups that are in attendance. If there's a particular school in attendance that night, if we do have a group appearing on the ice, or if there's a band appearing, we will give special mention to that. We do like to go along with special announcements, such as if a man has just returned from a year or 2 years duty in Vietnam, we think it's well worth it to mention it to the people that are in attendance. And believe me, these people are deserving of it, and they usually get a standing hand.
One of the unusual features coming from Sonny's office is a feature involving the fans called Beat the Goalie.
Well, it started over a telephone call. I saw this being done in another rink, and I thought, gee, it would be a great idea to have it here in our rink, because it's a good thing. It's helped sell programs, number one, and number two, it's something to give the people an entertainment between the periods, because there's a 15-minute break between there, and a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people don't get out of their seats and go down and get the beverages or the popcorn or soda or potato chips or whatever they might buy. They just want to sit there and relax. So we give them something, and it's called McDonald's Beat the Goalie, and it's in conjunction with McDonald's Hamburgers here in Dayton. And we've made up a board. Let me go back here. I want to say it started over a phone call, because I called the guy at the advertising agency and asked him if he'd want to do it, if he'd want to come out and look at it. He said, Sonny, if you want to do it, do it. Send me the bill, that's all. So I took it on my own, and we had this huge board made up, and it stretches all the way across the front of the goal mouth. And at the bottom of it, right in the middle, there's a 12-inch cutout. Now, what the idea is, a person has a lucky number. A lucky number is in the program under the McDonald's ad, and those numbers are drawn out between the first and second period, and they have a chance. They come over and show the lucky number that they won. Then they will get a chance to go out on the ice, and we have a mat out there so that they won't slip. We have a boy that is on skates, and he helps them out to the mat. Then they're given a stick and a puck, and their job is to try to get that little puck into that 12-inch opening down there at the other end, and it's about 75 feet is what they're shooting at the net, or at the board, let me say. Well, we've had it done 3 times this year, Mike, and it is a monetary thing, you know. We start with $25, and then every night that it is not hit, we make it another $5. So it got up to $40 the first time, and a fellow hit it, and it got up to $65 the second time, and a fellow hit it. Then it got up to $80, and that was around Christmas time, and a girl won it this time, a 16-year-old high school girl, and she was really excited, and she says, that's really going to be a big help right here at Christmas time, and it was. But it's really a fascinating thing. We've even had the players out there. The players take the board out while they're practicing, you know, in the daytime, and they set it up there, and they try to do it. And believe me, you get these experienced hockey players that really know how to handle a puck, and a lot of them just can't do it. They can hit the board, they can hit the net, but they can't put it in that little 12-inch area.
Beat the Goalie, besides selling programs, generates a great deal of interest, especially when the stakes get high.
It is because the people that are shooting at the McDonald's board naturally are not hockey players, and they should shoot it very awkwardly, as I would or as you would, because not knowing how. And the suspense grows because they don't shoot it quite as fast as what a normal hockey player would shoot it, and it sort of just trickles down there, you know, and the people, they start out with this, and then when it finally wavers off to the side, why, then there's a big sigh of relief by me, because I don't have to pay the money out.
Sonny's job is one of writing also.
Yes, that's right. As you know, you've been here and have seen it. We do a statistical sheet that is done every day, or every game day, let me put it that way, and that's inserted in the program that is delivered to the press box. Now, this is just for the working press only. And that is done and compiled before every game. Then after every game, we do a news release here. And the news release envelopes, I make those up before the game starts. Then after the game is over, we do the release, fold it, put it in the envelopes, and those are mailed out that night. That goes out within 2 hours after the game is over. Now, then, in town, we have different radio stations. I won't mention the different call letters, and television stations. And Lefty and I, on our way home, he takes some and I take some, and we deliver these personally, hand-delivered to the different stations. And that way, when the guy comes on the air at 5 o'clock in the morning to open the station, he's got the evening release, release from the game that was played just less than 6 or 8 hours before that. He doesn't have to go read the newspaper. He doesn't have to rely on some type of a AP or UPI wire getting through to him. He's got it right in his hand. And we think that this has been very beneficial to us, Mike. And it's a funny thing, the way it happened was because the way we started this was when the newspaper strike was on up here in Dayton 2 years ago. We knew that the radio and television people were getting no information because they had no newspaper. So we started doing this, and we've just continued it since then.
One of the many jobs more directly affecting the game is that of the goal judge, the man behind the boards, behind the goal, who flips on the red lamp when a goal is scored. In Columbus, plumber-contractor Chris Chrysler fills one of the two positions. He tells of what constitutes a goal.
Well, the puck has to come completely across the red line. No matter how it comes across, I call it a goal, and then it's up to the referee to make the final decision whether it was kicked in, threw it in, or whether it was knocked in legally with a stick. If the goalie catches the puck and falls back into the net, that's still a cross and is considered a goal.
Sometimes even the goal judge has difficulty seeing.
Yeah, one that was that come in and I couldn't call right away because I didn't see it. It came underneath the goalie and followed the edge. It followed the edge of the frame, the steel frame around, which has a guard, a white guard on the bottom of the frame, and it rolled around behind the white guard, and I couldn't see the puck until I stood up on the stool.
Well, if Chris Chrysler can't call the goal or can't see it, he'll admit that there are somewhere around 2,300 fans who sit at that end of the rink who are more than happy to help him make the call.
Right, exactly. A lot of people come down and say, let's have a few for the hometown and let's get the edge. But I don't. I've always been an athlete, and I've always been interested in athletic, football, basketball, baseball, anything. And I think the important thing is being fair.
Chris Chrysler, goal judge at the Columbus Arena.
I got kneed in the thigh, and I got a severe Charlie horse. I was out for 10 days. Thank God for the trainer that he caught it in time, or it could have been worse. I could have been out for at least a month and a half.
Thank God for the trainer. Words spoken by center Rayo Paquette of the Columbus Checkers. What does a hockey club trainer do? Des Moines Oakleaf's trainer Brian Ireland answers.
Well, Mike, you got to sharpen the skates, make sure they're all right. There's no repairs needed on them. Make sure everybody's equipment, sweaters, socks, pants are in good shape. Have all their equipment. Just keep their equipment more or less 100%.
A trainer handles many injuries, and we asked Brian which was the most frequent.
I think you'd have to say the knee injury.
And
the kid plays junior hockey, never gets his knee hurt, and the minute he first year out, he gets his knee hurt.
What about the knee? Are they bruises or what?
Well, they get the ligaments torn and get the cartilage smashed pretty good.
Is this usually by pucks or by collisions or what?
Well, usually when they by a collision where they go down hard on the side of their knee or something like this, crash into the boards.
The comeback for an injured player is a rough one. We asked the Oakleaf trainer about the player's attitude toward coming back maybe too early, before an injury has had a chance to completely heal.
Well, the average player, once they're injured, they'll tell you, and they're pretty honest about how bad they're hurt and if they can try it or not.
One man who operates behind the scenes would make the fans quite unhappy if he didn't show up for work. He's the concessions manager. In Fort Wayne, George Paddock has a career spanning over many sports, concert, and public program seasons.
Approximately 30 years. I've been here in this building 17 years.
His concessions crews are mostly high school youngsters who like hockey.
Well, these boys, of course, like hockey, but they're out here to work. They're out here to make a little money for their school and help them out. As a rule, they're all pretty good workers.
Some of his boys, who worked 17 years ago with him, occasionally pay him a visit.
They come back and bring their families, and makes you feel kind of old when they do that.
We talked to Paddock on a night when the Komets were playing Toledo before a crowd of 7,700. We asked him how many drinks he expected to sell to a crowd that size.
Approximately 1 drink per person.
Paddock added that he expected to sell 100 dozen hot dogs. The man who often sets the tempo for the fans at a game is the organist. Besides being a good musician, he must be an excellent psychologist. In Fort Wayne, Jack Lose has been the Coliseum organist for 4 seasons. We asked Jack what he might do to get the crowd started.
You want me to show you or tell you? It's hard to tell you. We just try to get the crowd clapping to get a little enthusiasm going, and I have various things that I do. One of them is something like this. Like this, and of course the crowd claps with it. We have another song that Norm introduced. And of course, you know that one is the clapping song. Anything that you can think of to meet the particular situation that's going on down on the ice.
A string in one of the nets broke in one game. What was the Jack Lose musical comment?
Yes, I've got the world on a string, or I'll string along with you. Some of the things that they do when they have a hole in the ice and they're bringing water out to fill the ice. I usually play cool water, something like this. As you mentioned a little while ago, around Christmas time, if one of the opposing players receives a penalty, I usually play You Better Be Good. It's Santa Claus is coming into town. It starts out, You better be good, you better not shout, and so forth. I try to match the situation. A lot of people have asked me why I play Red River Valley when they make a goal. And one night I was sitting there and playing the organ, and I used to play Happy Days Are Here Again or something of this nature whenever Komets made a goal. It just suddenly hit me that here we are sitting up here, the ice is sort of a valley down there, and when the red light goes on, the opening lines, I didn't even know the name of the song was Red River Valley, to tell you the truth. The opening lines are when it's lamp lighting time in the valley. And this just struck me, so I've been playing that ever since.
Lose also has music for penalties.
It depends on the penalty. For example, if there's a holding penalty, sometimes I'll play Hold Me or Put Your Arms Around Me, Honey. If there's an elbowing penalty, I play the Old Gray Mare, or something condoning square dancing where they elbow and so forth.
We asked Jack if he had ever incurred the wrath of an official.
Only once did I ever get a dirty look from a referee. The referee was Ed Sabe. I don't think he referees in this league anymore, I hope. And he was doing a particularly bad job that night, at least I thought so, and most of the crowd thought so. And I did play Three Blind Mice, and he was just ready to drop the puck. And of course he stopped, and he turned around and he looked at me, and that's the only time that I ever really got a dirty look from a referee. There's another referee who, it may be far-fetched, but he seems to get quite a kick out of it. Whenever they come on the ice and they say the referee is Sam Cisco, it just struck me as funny, so I break into...
Jack Lose, organist at the Allen County Memorial Coliseum. Now we turn to the men who broadcast the hockey games to the fans who are either unable to attend the games or who do attend and bring transistor radios to follow the games more closely. In Dayton, Lyle Stieg broadcast the Gems games on radio station WHIO. Lyle did games for Port Huron before coming to Dayton. As a matter of fact, it was Port Huron's not getting into the playoffs one season that brought him to the Gem City.
Well, as a matter of fact, the Dayton Gems were in the playoffs 3 years ago against the Toledo Blades. They didn't have a play-by-play man in town. WHIO wanted to broadcast the games. One thing led to another, and Lefty McFadden gave me a call in Port Huron. Our team had finished out of the playoffs, so we would not be in them. I would not be working. He suggested to WHIO that I come down and do the games, which I did. And about a month later, Channel 7 and WHIO called me down for an audition offering me a job, which I in turn accepted.
Stieg, who admits he cannot skate, thinks that his not playing the game works to an advantage.
Mike, I think that's a very good question, and I think it works to my advantage, because if I have been a player, and I've heard play-by-play announcers who have played the game, they might become overcritical of a game that is very bad. The guys aren't putting out, and a player knows this, and it might upset him. And I think that having not played the game, I can be less biased and fairer to the athlete on the ice.
How does an announcer prepare for a game? The Dean of International Hockey League Sportscasters, Bob Chase, whose broadcasts of Fort Wayne Komets games are carried on station WOWO in that city, outlines his preparation.
The preparation prior to game time is sort of twofold, actually. It's an engineering thing to begin with, as I have to set up my equipment, check out my lines. Following that, it's basically getting lineups, any new information on teams, possibly changes in line combinations, statistics that are up to date with each of the two teams, and about that time I'm ready to go. And of course, having followed this league for many years, it isn't too difficult, even at the beginning of a season, to get started because there are not that many new faces that come into the league each year, and they do fall into place rather fast.
As one could guess, hockey, being the fast sport that it is, requires an announcer to have an intimate knowledge of the names of the players.
That is the first and foremost rule. You have to know everyone by their face. You know them to talk to them, and you have to be able to identify them immediately, because if you don't, a goal is scored, and it's a very embarrassing thing to have to wait for the public address announcer to describe who scored the goal. You have to know them because they're passing the puck 5 and 6 times in as many seconds. And it's simply knowing the players as if they were roommates in college, so on and so forth. And in turn, it all comes on the play-by-play, just following your own style or pattern.
We asked Lyle Stieg if this meant only staying in the press box and memorizing numbers.
No, I spend time with these fellas. I travel with them on the team bus or plane, whatever the case might be. As a matter of fact, my hockey players taught me the game. I traveled by bus with the Port Huron team for 3 years, and I didn't know a face-off from a bale of hay, and they taught me the game, which I am very grateful for to them. But I believe in when a new player comes to town, I spend time with them in the dressing room. I might go to coffee with them or something and really get to know them.
We asked Bob Chase if the speed of the game worked a handicap on the announcer.
Well, actually, I think if you get into play-by-play sports, you will find that the more sustained action you have, really the easier it is to describe it because there are no lapses in play. It's a constant flow of information. And, of course, hockey is a little different in that many of the sportscasters in the USA don't understand the game, and it's a little difficult to describe it in its own vernacular. Other than that, though, I think the faster the game, really the easier it becomes to describe.
When asked what was the most difficult aspect of hockey broadcasting, Lyle Stieg answered,
Hockey is a continuous action sport. There are no pauses for, let's say, unstacking after a tackle. There's no timeouts as in basketball, and as in baseball you have a lot of time lag. As a result, continuous action. You're calling 2.5 hours or 2 hours of play-by-play, and I feel it is easy to get into a rut. If you aren't cautious, you might be repetitious, and everything you describe might sound the same all night. So you really have to concentrate on trying to make it as colorful as you can, still telling exactly what's going on, but not saying the same thing over and over and over and driving the fans out of their minds back home.
What about bias? Should an announcer cheer for another team? Says Bob Chase.
With the hockey team, of course, as a professional organization, I have a tendency and really a right to be a little biased in favor of the home team, which I think any sportscaster should be, not to go overboard with it, but yet should show enough favoritism at the right time when the breaks are going, or if they're not going, not to comment overtly on them. But in high school basketball or college basketball, it isn't what I call my home team. Even when Fort Wayne City high school teams are playing other schools in tournament play, it's very difficult and I think very unfair to be biased because our listening area is so great that you have parents and friends of both teams listening, and I like to always try to ride the middle of the road and treat them as fairly and squarely as I possibly can.
Every sportscaster has his own card of greatest thrills at the microphone. Bob Chase is no exception.
Indeed they do. In just about all sports, I've had some great thrills in Big Ten football. I can't think of the date at the moment. I think it was about 5 years ago. And the bucket game at Purdue in Indiana was a definite underdog and defeated them 12-7 on Nate Ramsey's interception and a 97-yard run. That was a great thrill for me in football. In basketball, I started doing basketball in Indiana the year that Milan beat Muncie Central, and that to me had to be one of the most sensational things I have ever seen in high school basketball. In hockey, of course, I have had a number of thrills, mostly probably in playoffs, because of some great comebacks the Fort Wayne hockey clubs have had, as well as some great teams that practically waltzed through seasons. I know one night it turned out not to be as big a thrill as I'd anticipated. I started the game at 8 o'clock at night, and it went into a record series of overtimes, and I was still doing play-by-play at 25 after 1 the next morning. But I think probably within recent years, as I recall it, although we lost the series to the Dayton Gems, the final game played here in Fort Wayne, and the dramatic last-second goal by Len Thornton will stick in my mind for a long time.
With 11 seconds, turned out in front of the goal. Durant, ridden off the puck by Berman. Played by Goodwin. A shot wide again. Thornton back out front, diving on it and hanging on. With 3 seconds to go is Rick Best. 2-1 Gems. And it all happened in the first period. All right, Garant and Wazlowski ready for the face-off. Every Comet now standing. 3 seconds remaining. The crowd is quiet. And Wazlowski will face off against Sid Garant. Thornton out in the shooting hole. Waz now looks. They're ready to draw. Waz gets it. Thornton shoots. Score!
You've been listening to Face Off, the International Hockey League. This week's chapter on this side of the boards. Next week, we'll talk to the players, coach, and officials of the 1969 Turner Cup champions, either the Dayton Gems or the Muskegon Mohawks. Mike Emrick saying so long until next Saturday night at 9.